Welcome to another video, and as you can see by the title of this one, we've got an absolutely crazy game with a 104 kill game with the Kar98k on Underground Conquest. And as you can see, I managed to do it as well with the 6x scope, along with obviously me playing on really low sensitivity, being 20 soldier sensitivity and 80 zoom sensitivity, as well as obviously the default 55 FOV. And this is pretty special because it's only the second game I've had on Underground Conquest where I've got 100 plus kills with a bolt action sniper. Of course, the first one being 114 kills with the Arasaka video, which I'm surprised hasn't had that many views. So if you haven't seen that one, be sure to check that one out because that was a crazy game as well. So of course, stick around in this video. I'm going to explain obviously my thoughts on the Kar98k along with what's happening in this specific game, and most importantly, what I haven't explained before on this channel is how you're going to want to play on Underground, which is a very, very close quarters map where you're always playing against ZKs, shotguns, Type 2As, very close quarters weapons with high time to kill, and obviously of course how to play on Underground, this close quarters map, using high magnification zoom weapons or low fire rate weapons such as the bolt action snipers, and how you can obviously stay alive for longer and find and get the most amount of kills still. But as always, I say in all of these 100 plus videos, if you want to see the specializations for this sniper or any gun in the game, check out the playlists I've created on the homepage or in the playlist section for videos, and I cover my opinion on the best specializations for all the guns in the game, so check those out. So as you can see, I am using the 6x scope on the Kar98k in this game, and you will know if you've seen in previous videos that I've explained that I always prefer to choose them on any of the bolt action snipers the highest magnification zoom possible, which obviously is generally the 6x zoom, and this is because it makes the enemies look the largest they possibly can on the screen, and therefore makes their head very, very large, and therefore, you know, means you can get the sight on a bigger target, and makes it much easier to get those headshots, as well as just having a bigger target, which makes them easier to see and aim at. And of course, if you're wondering, you know, how are you playing on such a close quarters map with such a high zoom, even then, and how am I staying alive, how am I finding kills? In general, my map knowledge and experience from playing this map over and over and over again, you learn all the different positions that enemies take up, where all the head glitch spots are, such as like all these windows in front, you know, and where enemies are going to be at head height. And so you learn to just use whatever cover you can, which you'll just see me do throughout the video. And your knowledge, knowing where enemies are always going to be potentially standing behind head glitches, you always basically just checking those spots over and over. You know, look on the left, look on the right, and essentially enemies will eventually always pop up behind those head glitch spots, you know, or just any general area where you know enemies are going to be camping. Even if it's just snipers lying down on top of the trains, for example, you're just constantly scanning and checking all those locations, and you know you essentially just get free headshots because the enemies are just standing there, and so you know you don't need to worry about moving your scope. You're just aiming at standing still targets, if that makes sense. And alongside the same point there, of course, using a 6x scope on a very close quarters map, you are playing against a lot of people who like to rush, run and gun, obviously of course, in this map and play very aggressive, and so it does become very hard to track any sort of moving target if you aren't playing at distance, which is something you will also see me do a little bit in this game. Of course, you might want to have fun and play aggressive, but also you have to play to the gun's strengths and what it's built for. So of course, you don't want to run and gun into ZKs, shotguns and Type 2As, SM, just any close quarters gun, and so you just want to keep yourself at a nice distance, even if it's medium range, so that even then you're able to track moving targets to some degree, as well as obviously give yourself enough time between the enemy, enough distance which gives you enough time between the enemy and you to obviously reload in between shots, take enough cover, and obviously take enemies out. But essentially, once you've learned all the basics, it becomes really easy to do really well with a sniper like this on Underground. You know, all of the mid-map is effectively 3 straight corridor lanes, you know, with the trains, as well as just the middle, the left, and the right. You know, all straight lanes. You can literally aim down the whole of the map in those straight lanes and pick off easy headshots as long as you aim at head height down any of those lanes. You've got all the windows, obviously on this side, in the middle, both sides of B flag in the middle. So you know, you've always got easy headshots on enemies standing at head height on all of the windows. And so, yeah, as long as you learn the positions enemies are going to be at, know all the head glitches, and you use your 3 lanes effectively, aiming down the entire corridor, you can scan and cover the majority of the map really quick and pick off as many kills as possible. But if you're hoping that I was going to talk about the Kar98k in general, and what I think of it and what its benefits are and what its drawbacks are, I have already done a video on why I believe this is the best gun in Battlefield 5. So so be sure to check that out, because I have a full in-depth video on the Kar98k, and I do believe it is the best sniper in Battlefield 5. So I won't talk about it in this game in particular, but it is there on the channel for you to check out. So as you can see here, in this particular game, I've managed to push past the enemy line, essentially getting a flank on them, but of course we've got B flag, they've got obviously their home flag at C. They're all spawning at C, and they're running straight from C, straight through the middle of the map, straight to obviously those windows where the choke point is going to be. And so if you do, using a sniper for example, manage to push past the enemy line, try use either the entirety of the left flank or the right flank. Don't stick in the middle, because all of the enemies spawning right in front of me there on C are pushing straight through the middle, and you're literally just going to have the whole enemy team run into you with all their their shotguns and SMGs. So you want to stick out on the flanks. You will obviously have to therefore take out some moving headshots, but you've got all the enemies camping on the mounted machine guns. If you go a bit further back, you can also aim into the building by B, where they're standing by the windows, and you can just get loads of free headshots on people standing still. But essentially in this position here, I'm staying on the flank, out on the sides, so that I'm not getting that entire flow of enemies spawning from C running directly into me, as obviously they push through to the middle of the map. And therefore I can stay alive for even longer and pick off enemies as well at the gun's most effective range possible. And with a short quick tip, which I always say as well, is of course I'm using the sniper class, I've got the spawn beacon, and so I'm trying to use a spawn beacon as much as possible, because if you do manage to get behind the enemy line, like I have done here, using that spawn beacon is absolutely vital going for a high kill game, because if you get killed, the chances are your spawn beacon will obviously survive, and you can carry on spawning behind the enemy line, and therefore get loads of kills on unsuspecting enemies, because they're not even looking in a direction that you've spawned. And to add to that even further, you will know how much of a bitch it can be to try spawn underground. I've literally quit multiple games of underground because I've tried to spawn 6 or 7 times, and your teammates are always supposedly in combat, and it just takes you back to the spawn screen. So having the spawn beacon is like having a flag. You can just spawn on it no matter if there's 10 enemies standing around it, and so this saves you so much time using a spawn beacon, and it allows you to therefore maximize the amount of kills you can get in the time you have playing the game. Now what you can see here, and in the next 30 seconds or so, I'm utilizing that power position which I always talk about, which is underneath B flag, because obviously the main flow of enemies is going to be going up the stairs onto B flag, not underneath it. And of course any enemies running out from the stairs generally aren't going to be turning around and running underneath B flag, and so it's a good place where you will encounter the least amount of possible enemies at close quarters as well, which is obviously beneficial for me using a long range weapon, and I don't want close range gunfights. One really small but quick tip as well is you'll see I'm trying not to push too far past the front line of my team, because if I do, then of course I'm going to encounter the front line of the enemy team, who are obviously charging very aggressively straight into me. So staying with the front line of my team means the enemies are also going to be focusing their fire on my teammates, and it allows me to just stand just behind the front line of my team and pick off all the enemies, who are then standing still because they're firing at teammates, and therefore this makes much easier targets for me. If I push beyond the front line of my own team, then obviously I'm running into the front line of the enemy team, who are running directly into me as a fast moving target, being very aggressive. So that's one very, very key tip which I would suggest you follow. And then this is an example here. I don't want to push any further past this point here, simply because I'm going to encounter all the enemies out in the open beyond the front line of my team, as well as staying in this position again is utilizing the weapon at its effective range, being medium to long range. I can see all the enemies here pushing from their spawn flag at C, and obviously they can't hit me or accurately enough to kill me with SMGs and shotguns, and so I've got the full effective range to kill them from there. They haven't, so that's why you're utilizing using a sniper in that case. And I guess the last thing to say here, as we come to the end of the game, I'm getting very, very nervous at this point because I realise the 100 game is possibly on, and I know how big of a challenge it is to actually get 100 game, especially with a bolt action sniper on underground, as well as obviously the high 6x zoom. But just right here, perfect. You'll see me use this in loads of videos. Stand on top of this little toolbox behind this bigger crate or bigger box, and it allows you to just pick off all the enemies standing in the window at B flag. And as well as you will know all the noob enemies or lower level enemies will always keep jumping on the machine guns and getting revived, and so there I just pick off quite a few kills to get me towards that 100 game. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap up the video. There's like 1 or 2 minutes left, so I'll let that play out for you. I don't think I have much of a reaction that I did manage to capture or record, but I was very, very happy with it. But yeah, if you have watched this far, hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully I've spoken about something that has helped you in some way. So obviously, of course, drop a like straight on it for me, help push it out to more people. Leave a comment, what was your favourite snipe in the video or favourite part of the video, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And the last thing to say as well is we're only a few videos, or rather a few guns away from completing that playlist which I've created of getting 100 plus kills with all the guns in Battlefield 5 on Conquest. So that will soon be finished. Those final videos will be released within the next month or two, and then we'll do a few more creative and shorter form videos which can be very, very helpful and interesting. So yeah, without further ado, I'll let you watch the rest of the video, and yeah, see you on the next one. Let's go! Let's go! 104 with a Kar98.